Is in St. Paul, Minnesota. Though he's not inside the convention hall. He's actually with more voters, and they hold very different views to Senator McCain's and his policies. Avi?
Shihab, you know, we've been here at the Black Dog Cafe watching the speech. I can't say it was electrifying in the room as we were watching the speech. Even the McCain supporter, there's a sense of underwhelmingness. But there was some meat in that speech, and we're going to get at it with our three guests. Jim Hansen, who is a military blogger, bragging in the break about how he was at Blackwater's headquarters shooting things up in North Carolina recently. Marianne Stebbins, who is a disciple of the Church of Ron Paul and of the libertarian persuasion, and Sami Rassouli, who is a founder of the Muslim Peacemaker Teams and is definitely an anti-war voice in this context. Something that was a revelation to me is that John McCain is also an anti-war activist, and he said in his speech something that leapt out, I thought, "I hate war," a very clear expression. And I wanted to run that by you guys and what you thought.
He doesn't want war. He wants to bring us back to peace, but yet he wants to go after Iran. He wants to go after Russia. He wants to spread our military all over the world when we don't have the manpower to do this. Where is the guy on the war? Is he for the war or is he against the war?
Well, I think, Jim?
He said, one thing he said, I hate war. No one hates war more than the warrior. That is what it boils down to every time. They're the ones who have seen it, and he has seen it pretty close.
Then why don't they stop?
Because they believe that there are causes greater than their own personal suffering. There's a cause that John McCain serves.
To colonize the world? Do we have to go everywhere?
We already have
country?
military in a lot of places.
We have military in 130 countries around the world. Now he wants to go into Russia and Iran. Where do we stop?
If Russia invades Georgia, don't we have a stake in that game?
Okay, let's bring Sammy in.
Well, at least Senator McCain repeated the word fight. I fight, fight. Even to do business, I have to fight at least 15 times.
What do you make of that?
Well, what kind of a message we send when we want to improve our education and support our kids in the schools in Columbine or in Virginia Tech? He is the president of war, and there is no difference between him and President Bush's agenda for the last 7 years and a half. So, blaming Russia to invade Georgia, who will, I mean, from the Republican Party to blame the U.S. invading Iraq and causing the mess in Iraq, causing the death more than 4,000 young men and women in uniform, more than 6,000 soldiers committed suicide only in 2005, according to CBS 60 Minutes aired a few. For me, even Mr. Biden will not represent the interest of this country. Of course, we all heard Mr. Biden, the Zionist, as he described himself, interviewed by Shalom TV.
This is a night about McCain.
Well, it's.
You're saying this is a bipartisan.
Cheney is still in the ticket whether Biden win or
Jim. Cheney's still on the ticket. I mean, it's a speech about fighting and about war and about America standing up to its enemies.
We have a long history of wars on poverty, war on drugs, which we lost. I was part of fighting that. We definitely lost it. We have a habit of using that mentality, and I think there's a point to be made that doesn't do a lot of good when you're speaking diplomatically. But when we're still at the point where we're trying to finalize victory in Iraq and maintain momentum, now that Pakistan has allowed Al-Qaeda and the Taliban to regroup, we have to maintain the momentum we've got and the successful strategy of counterinsurgency.
But you now want to go against Russia because of Georgia.
To go against Russia? Russia's going against Georgia, and we have an interest in that pipeline.
It's none of our business. It's not our business. When are we going to get back to a small government that minds its own business, that gets out of the way of its citizens? Instead, McCain is talking about providing us all jobs. He's talking about educating each and every one of us, about
training. He also said you can't wish away the global economy.
He wants to get into our lives. He wants to get it around the world.
Let me put a fact on the table. In the last 8 years under the Bush administration, American military spending now equals almost the rest of the world combined. Does that not create an unstoppable business interest and momentum in war for the future?
Or does that mean everyone else is shirking their responsibility?
You look at
Europe. Which is it?
Europe, I think it's a definite. You look at the European budgets, old Europe, who wants to be the voice of reason and be the ones who tell the rest of us how to act multilaterally. They have no ability to back up their diplomacy because they have no expeditionary military. They rely on us.
The increase of the military budget for the last, the 2 terms of Mr. Bush is 3.4%, and that represent the cost of the war in Iraq, as Mr. Joe Stiglitz, articulated in his book. So the economic issue and also the war issue in Iraq, as I see it, it's just one issue. No difference.
We cannot afford this war. We are in debt. Our dollar is weak. Inflation is going through the roof. People are hurting. People can't pay their own bills, and yet we're inflating the dollar to pay for this war. That's not right.
Jim, we have heard a double discourse from both parties that the people are in trouble, people are hurting in America, the economy's bad, and that the war, whatever their position on the war is, but they're never actually brought together to talk about the economic cost of the war. Did not forget the human cost in the rest of the world, but for this country.
Potentially, then, there's not an economic cost to us because a lot of the money that's spent on the war goes to American companies. Maybe people may hate defense contractors.
Some honesty.
It's a jobs program.
Some honesty
It's a
about
jobs
the
program
military.
to some
Let's
extent.
just nationalize the companies and take the money out of your pocket.
Because sometimes they're more efficient than the defense
Keep
department.
repeating, I will get back America to Americans from home, like from Republicans to Republicans. So it gotta be change. For me, as an Iraqi citizen, American citizen, for the foreign policy, I would love to elect Mr. Ron Paul if his running mate, Dennis Kucinich.
Now that Ron Paul
We
and
got a
Dennis Kucinich
convert
have been
here.
announced
Thank
as
you.
a new ticket, that's our throwback to it. That's it from here for now. Let's go back to Washington.